to the Dropping Dimes podcast. And here's your host, Jay I Dimes.
Yes, sir. Welcome back to the Dropping Dimes podcast presented by Yo and Yes. Many thanks also to Snuggle Moments BH for sponsoring this episode. For today's episode, I'll be dishing out the latest news around the association. We have some news on Daryl Morey, some sad news regarding Sid Hartman, news about the league and the salary cap. We also have some draft news, coaching news, and the latest rumors as well on certain transactions that might happen come free agency. Okay, so let's kick off the episode starting with news on Daryl Morey. So, according to ESPN, this is what Daryl Morey said. James Harden changed my life. So he wrote an entire page that was just dedicated to James. He not only transformed my life, but also, this is according to Morey, quote, he not only transformed my life, but also revolutionized the game of basketball and continues to do so like almost no one has before, end quote. Okay, so that just shows the respect. And also, I think Daryl Morey really got lucky also and was really fortunate that he made that deal for James Harden. People didn't really expect Harden, or at that time, no one really expected Harden to just blow up like that, right? You go from the top six man to becoming the main guy, and now he's a bona fide superstar. Now, according to Grant Liffman of NBC Sports, they actually think, NBA insider Tom Haberstraw thinks that Stephen Curry, given the scenario and given the chip on the shoulder to bounce back, will probably lead the league in scoring next year. Then, according to Golden State legend Rick Barry, this is on Serge Ibaka. He mentioned that Serge Ibaka would be a heck of a addition to the Warriors. The guy that that's really the guy that I'd like them to see. That's according to Rick Barry. I love Serge Ibaka. The guy can shoot the three, he can rebound, block shots, and he would be a heck of a addition for the Warriors. Now, the Lakers were also, well, they've been the talk of the town since winning the title. So they had this party. They reportedly checked into the mansion at MGM Grand, and there was this Instagram video wherein LeBron was carrying the Larry O'Brien trophy. Well, that's really what happens when you win the championship. And then, of course, in some sad news, we have legendary Minneapolis Star Tribune columnist Sid Hartman. He passed away at the age of 100. This was shared by his son Chad on Twitter. And according to Chad, my father's extraordinary and resilient life has come to a peaceful conclusion surrounded by his family. So again, sad news again. Well, that's really been 2020 so far. So all of these sad news, like last week, the basketball world lost B.J. Johnson, and then this week, Sid Hartman. So may he rest in peace, and we're sending our condolences to the family, to the Hartman family. Now, in some news, still related to Minnesota, we all know that the Timberwolves will be selecting first in the upcoming draft. And according to Ryan Saunders, their coach, he likes their position. They will be picking. They have actually 2 first-round picks, numbers 1 and 17, and they also have a very early second-round pick number 33. But of course, the challenge is they cannot actually do in-person workouts. So according to Ryan Saunders, there have been a lot of Zoom meetings and interviews and just evaluating prospects. Okay, so more Minnesota Timberwolves news. So they have restricted free agents like Malik Beasley, Jordan McLaughlin, and also Juan Hernan Gomez. While of course, the biggest news would be what would be the future of D'Angelo Russell and Karl Anthony Towns. So they kind of have a lot of priorities when it comes to building the team. But then we'll see. It's interesting. There are some rumors going around that Towns is not really that happy in Minnesota. Minnesota, of course, the D'Angelo deal was obviously to try to keep Cat happy. Well, we don't know. They have the number 1 pick. It would be weird if let's say they draft a guy like LaMelo Ball because they already have D'Angelo, or would they go with Anthony Edwards? And we know that it's not really that often when a shooting guard goes number 1 in the draft, right? So, like, how can you then if you consider drafting James Wiseman, is that really like a logical pick for you, knowing that you already have Cat? So some hard decisions for Minnesota. Now let's go to some league news. Okay, so one of the biggest challenges will be, once again, as mentioned also in the previous episode, the salary cap. The negotiating the terms of the salary cap next season. That number is typically derived from league revenues, but because of the pandemic, that according to the LA Times, the league actually lost an estimated amount of $1.5 billion. So, okay, that will be of course, that will cause a massive salary cap drop and would push the overwhelming majority of the league deep into the luxury tax while drying up the free agent market in an instant at the same time. Okay, so that is not actually good news, for the league, but Adam Silver, the fact that he was able to put up the bubble. Well, we just have to keep the faith that that Adam Silver, Commissioner Silver, will be able to do something about this. Now, for some other news, Damian Lillard. Damian Lillard, when he was asked to give 3 attributes that he would take from anyone in the history of the game, so he answered he wanted Jordan's athleticism, that's MJ's athleticism, LeBron's durability, and interestingly, Kevin Durant's size and skill set. Okay, so he just felt like even though, people will perceive that LeBron is actually more athletic than MJ, for Dame, MJ just moved differently. Okay, then in some other news, some interesting news about Rajon Rondo talking on the Full 48 podcast of Rachel Nichols. So there, Rachel Nichols actually revealed that Rondo actually almost retired after his stint with the Dallas Mavericks. Thank God that he didn't, because he did help the Lakers. So the Lakers should really be thanking the basketball gods that Rajon Rondo did not retire, as he was really a big reason for why the Lakers won the championship. Now, in some draft news again. So, the Chicago Bulls, they've not been that lucky when it comes to the lottery. They've always been missing the top 5. But having new GM Arturas Karnisovas, they want to actually pursue either the number 1 pick or the number 2 pick of Golden State if it becomes available. Then another one is the Charlotte pick at number 3. So it seems like the Bulls really are trying to get someone. We don't really know who at this moment, but it seems like they're really heavily trying to land one of the top 3 picks. Now, in some free agency news, Fred VanVleet. Of course, that's one of the guys who really came out of nowhere. He was really a good college player, but then he went undrafted, and then he developed, and then became a really reliable player for the Toronto Raptors. Now, according to Bobby Marks, VanVleet will actually be demanding a deal around probably 4 years and $80 million. Wow. That's just, if you look at that contract, then that's obviously Fred VanVleet has really come a long way, man. From being an undrafted, trying to make the team, to now having the power to command 4 years and $80 million. So let's see if the Raptors would actually do this. VanVleet, yes, he's a good player, but he's no Kawhi Leonard, though. Right? So it's hard to gamble on these guys, right? It's not that you don't want to get them, but then you're gonna pay them that much. That's $20 million a year for a guy who's not really your top player, right? And then, of course, Pascal Siakam, who they thought would be their star player, kind of disappeared in the playoffs. So some tough decisions for the Raptors. We already know that Marc Gasol will be moving on, and Serge Ibaka, we don't know if he's going to be coming back. A tough scenario for the Raptors. And then for some Victor Oladipo news. So the Indiana Pacers can actually offer Vic Oladipo an extension beginning at 120% of Oladipo's salary for the 2021 season. So that will start at around 26 million. So that's just a few million below what he could have actually gotten with a max contract if he will be an unrestricted free agent next year. If he decides to be, let's say, play it out and then becomes an unrestricted free agent next season, so he will get more. But then you have to remember that Oladipo did suffer a torn quadriceps tendon in January of 2019, and he never really looked like the Victor Oladipo of old, right? So that's the problem. And when he tried to come back, he didn't quite look okay. So this is another hard decision, both for the Pacers and also for Oladipo, because I mean, if Vic's gonna gamble on, let's say, he'll play it out, not sign the extension, but what if he struggles again? You know, he might not get that big contract anymore. He might never get that long, that high payday that he's looking for. But then if you're the Pacers, and then let's say Vic signs, and then he struggles, and then it's also tough for the Pacers, right? It's not like Indiana gets a lot of these or attracts free agents, right? So people don't go to Indiana compared to, let's say, like the big markets. It's hard for them to attract free agents. That's just the sad reality in basketball. But we'll see. We'll see if what will happen with Vic Oladipo and his, will he stay with the Pacers or will the Pacers let him go? Now, when some Giannis Antetokounmpo news, Milwaukee has already, this is according to some news from ESPN, that Milwaukee is not at all looking into trading Giannis. They want to improve their roster to give Giannis the reason to stay. So if they're willing to spend, they're willing to go over the luxury tax just to make sure that they will, or at least they will, try to convince Giannis to stay, or hope that these transactions will persuade Giannis to stay with them. And it's also interesting, the Timberwolves, they of course have the number one pick as mentioned, and they're actually interested in Obi Toppin. I don't know if they're very high on him, the big guy from Dayton. But of course, if that's really the case, then we would expect that they will be trading down, right? So they don't have to use the number one pick to get the guy that they want. So they might trade down, get some assets, and then still get their guy. Okay. And then let's look for some other news. First news are kind of slow right now during the off season, and another one on Victor Oladipo again, coming from the Brian Windhurst podcast. so from Wendy's podcast, that Miami has no interest in landing Victor Oladipo. They are actually eyeing the big fish, or the bigger fish for that matter. So of course we know who they are talking about. They're trying to get guys like Joel Embiid or Giannis Antetokounmpo. That's already a fact. We know that those are the guys that they're trying to target. So we'll see if that's gonna work out for Miami. And then some other news. Oh, this is non-basketball related, but it's kind of trending because there will be a popular celebrity golf outing that will actually feature Phil Mickelson, Charles Barkley, Steph Curry, and the great Peyton Manning. And it will air on TNT. Okay. So we all know that when Sir Charles plays golf, it's actually as entertaining as when he was balling during the 90s. Even though we all know it's kind of different kind of entertainment. Basketball dominance, and then in golf, it's more of just the show, right? And let's see if you will see that infamous swing again from Sir Charles. Then in some other news, this one, Andre Drummond. When they traded for Drummond, it seemed like they really didn't want Drummond to stay. But of course, Drummond wants to pick up the option. He doesn't want to be a free agent, but the problem is the Cavs actually don't have any interest in him. So I don't know how will they try to buy him out, or will they trade him? Point is, they will really be far apart in extension talks because Drummond has other plans. The Cavs have the complete opposite mindset when it comes to it. So expect Andre Drummond to be out of Cleveland eventually. Okay, still trying to find some news here. According to Jamal Murray, Steph Curry is the toughest cover that he had to face. Well, it's ironic because, when Jamal Murray came out, I really thought that he was like a 6'4", 6'5" Steph Curry. And there was a time that he was actually being labeled like that. But then we all know that Jamal didn't particularly came out like a house on fire. And then finally came out in the bubble. He really took he really went to the next level while playing in the bubble. So it's really interesting for him to say that Steph is his hardest or toughest cover, when in fact he's always been compared to Steph. He's like a more athletic and bigger Steph, if you're gonna think about it. I'm not saying that at this moment Jamal is already better than Steph. You might think I'm going overboard here. It's just that there are similarities between Jamal's game and Steph's game ever since. Jamal wasn't really a natural point guard when he came out of Kentucky. People forget that Jamal averaged almost 24 points a game during that 1 year done with Kentucky. And he was playing the two-guard position at that time, right? I don't know if I remember it correctly, if that was like, if Isaiah Briscoe was their point guard then, or I think Tyler Ulis. Not so sure. I'm not so sure about that, but I'm very sure that when Jamal was balling in Kentucky, he was really putting up buckets there. And of course, again, the Rockets continue to look for their coach. Will it be Jeff Van Gundy? Will it be John Lucas? We don't know, so let's wait. And then for the Indiana Pacers head coaching job, Dan Craig has made a good impression. And then lastly, we have the Heat as one of the teams who are also interested in another breakout player in the bubble, Jeremy Grant. You know, Grant is not your superstar player, but he is so important in today's game. You need this kind of player, the guy who can play multiple positions. He can guard multiple positions as well. And then the versatility. You would always want to have that kind of versatility. A 6'8" swing forward. The guy averaged 12 points and 3.5 boards. And this is the key point here, 38.9% on threes. But he really started showing what his value and during that playoff run that the Nuggets had, right? Against the Clippers, against the Lakers. Jeremy Grant made himself a lot of money because of the way he played. So he would surely opt out of his $9.3 million player option and demand a higher pay this coming free agency. Okay, so with that, those are the latest news so far around the association. Many thanks. I would like to take this opportunity to thank. Last time I thanked Keith Segovia. I thanked him for supporting the podcast. I would also like to thank my main man, Kevin Cruz. Yes, my classmate way back in high school. That guy is a baller. Basketball IQ is off the charts. Thank you for supporting the podcast. Kev's also my former student, Bob Caridad. Thank you also for always supporting the podcast. I highly appreciate your support. For the others, of course, I will give a shout out as well to all of you in the coming episodes. So once again, thank you to our sponsors, Yo and Yes. Thank you also to the people who have liked or taken time to click on the like button on our Facebook page and also our Instagram page. And of course, thank you also to Snuggle Moments PH for sponsoring this episode. This is the Dropping Dimes podcast.